My boys really improved big time. And now that it's going to come to an end, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do now?
A First Nation in Alberta moves to provide care to kids who have special needs, but parents worry that those needs might not be met.
I've used the line that the games would be the pulse of the community, and it really has been.
The Arctic Winter Games wrap up in the Northwest Territories, and residents open their hearts and their homes. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. It's 150 years late, but Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has given an exoneration and offered an apology for wrongdoings. Here's Annette Francis with that story.
In 1864, 6 Tsilhqot'in chiefs were hanged after a battle with construction workers who were building roads through their territory. Today, the Prime Minister made a statement about those deaths.
As the government and the people of Canada continue to come to terms with our colonial past, it is essential that we recognize and support the implementation of the rights of the Tsilhqot'in and all Indigenous peoples enshrined in our Constitution. The recognition and implementation of Indigenous rights can wait no longer, and neither should the Tsilhqot'in people continue to wait for an apology that is long, long overdue.
Along with the 6 chiefs, 14 road builders were killed in what was known as the Tsilhqot'in War. 5 of the chiefs believed they were heading for peace talks. Instead, they were arrested, tried, and hanged, and a 6th chief was executed the following year. The Prime Minister says the capture and arrest demonstrated lack of respect.
As an important symbol of our commitment to reconciliation, we confirm without reservation that Chief Tsilhqot'in, Chief Biyil, Chief Telad, Chief Tsilhqot'in, Chief Chasis, and Chief Aun are fully exonerated of any crime or wrongdoing.
Conservative MP Cathy McLeod says the chiefs were doing what anyone would have done, protecting their livelihood and their people. She welcomed the Tsilhqot'in chiefs in the House. She says it's an important step.
We hope that today and in the future it can also be a place that the Tsilhqot'in too can regard as a place of progress, reconciliation and cooperation.
Chief Joe Alphonse says it's an emotional day, that the intention was to set the record straight.
You know, for too long our people have suffered. We've had too many children in care and ministries. We have too many of our community members incarcerated. We have murdered and missing women cases going on. The first prejudice we've always faced from any sectors always started from this place, from government's lack of respect shown to us spills over to every aspect of society, and we get the brunt of that over and over and over again. It's time to change that.
Chief Alphonse says now's the time to move forward. There's a lot of work to do. The Prime Minister will deliver the statement to the Tsilhqot'in people in their community this summer. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Still in Ottawa, it was an all-day discussion on C-45, the cannabis law, in the Senate today, as the Committee on Aboriginal Peoples heard from several witnesses. APTN's Todd Lamoran reports that the morning session divided largely into 2 camps, especially those from Nunavut, concerned about the coming legislation, and others who want full Indigenous participation.
Senators heard from Sarah Loft and Mike Fontaine, who represent Indigico, a company that wants to help First Nations get on the cannabis bandwagon.
The ability to be a licensed producer provides the means to produce and or distribute cannabis outside of reserves or traditional Indigenous territories, leading to substantially larger positive participation in the economy.
This bill is, without a doubt, a generational opportunity for creating economic dignity for Indigenous people.
Fontaine pointed out the relative safety of marijuana in terms of its toxicity.
There's no evidence anywhere that cannabis has killed one person. I think the amount necessary to create a lethal dose in an individual is somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,500 pounds ingested in 15 minutes.
That statement seemed to annoy Ontario Senator Vernon White. He quoted statistics from Colorado where traffic fatalities from marijuana influence had gone up.
So when you say nobody has ever died from marijuana use, I have to say after 32 years in policing, I've seen a lot of death as a result of people who use marijuana. So what research are you using?
If it's going to be something where we compare to alcohol, we compare to tobacco, I can quote statistics on how many deaths that are caused by smoking. I know people that have died from impaired drivers or from impaired driving. To ask me, you know, what statistics am I basing it on? That's an unfair, a little bit of an unfair question.
Mr. Fontaine, I think actually what's unfair is that you came in here and you made a statement that you know of no cases where somebody has died as a result of marijuana use.
The delegation from Nunavut expressed great concern over the new law. One elder, Isaac Shuyak, said this could destroy their smallest communities.
Many people committing suicide because of that, and because of the alcohol and because of the cannabis. This is unacceptable. We do not want any more problems be placed in front of us, things we cannot deal with. Please, because there's nothing in place to legalize cannabis in Nunavut.
Paul Lamarand, APTN National News, Ottawa.
The Inspire Awards celebrated its 25th anniversary over the weekend. The star-studded ceremony in Winnipeg, 13 individuals were recognized for their contributions in the field of law, sport, culture, and more. Brittany Hobson brings us the story.
Indigenous achievements were put in the spotlight Friday evening when hundreds gathered in Winnipeg to celebrate the 25th annual Inspire Awards. Like former Mrs. Universe winner Ashley Collingbull, this is the second time she's been to the awards, but this year's ceremony was special for a new reason.
Because last year I presented this award, so it's like such a surprise to me, and it's really surreal that I'm actually receiving the award this year.
The 28-year-old was one of 3 recognized for their work with youth. Since being crowned Mrs. Universe, Collingbull has used her fame to call attention to missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in Canada. Before the awards, Collingbull credited the support of Indigenous youth for her continued success.
It's the youth that motivates me and inspires me because, you know, after I'm done a workshop or after I'm done a motivational speech or working with the youth, it encouraged me to keep going because, you know, I'm doing something that's positive, I'm doing something that's enlightening, and I'm bringing inspiration and hope into these children's lives.
At just 14 years old, Thieland Kiknoswe is this year's youngest recipient. The teen has spent most of his life weaving his culture and heritage in everything he does.
Because anybody could be in my position right now. That's why I say it, like, just being a humble person and doing what you do every day and make sure you're giving back to the people is what's really important.
11 other recipients were recognized at this year's awards, including Métis lawyer Paul Chartrand and Dr. Gloria Cranmer-Webster, who received the Lifetime Achievement Award for her work in cultural reclamation. Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Congrats to all those who were recognized. Time for a quick break, but stick around. There's more to come. Here's a look at Tuesday's weather forecast, starting on the East Coast, where a sunny spring day is on tap, +9 in Fredericton and Halifax. Wintry, +5 with flurries in La Grande, 0 in Nain. Snow and +4 in Chibougamau, +1 and snow in Val-d'Or. A wet day in southern Ontario, rain and 10 above in Windsor. Rain and +4 in Toronto. Rain and 6 above in Kapuskasing. Sun's out and +6 in Thunder Bay. Things dip below 0 in northern Manitoba, -16 in Churchill. 0 in Barons River, +2 in Winnipeg and Brandon. Cloudy day in much of Saskatchewan, +3 in Regina and Swift Current, where showers are likely. Sunny and 14 below in Uranium City, -13 in Stony Rapids. Welcome back. The parents of 12 special needs children from the Stoney Reserve near Calgary may have to find a new place for their kids to receive the therapy they need. APTN's Chris Stewart explains why.
Let me see some. Just a little bit. Let me see a little bit.
These parents from the Stoney Nation have been sending their children to Williams Consulting for 6 months. There are 12 special needs children who are picked up in their home of Morley each morning. They are driven to nearby Williams Consulting to work with a team of 10 professionals, such as speech and physical therapists and psychologists, to help them with their disabilities.
It helped him a lot with communicating, doing stuff on his own, especially at home. He knows from what's right and what's wrong. When he knows how to communicate more of visual and language.
The parents approached facility owner Andrea Williams to help treat their children. She signed a 2-year agreement with the First Nations and Inuit Health Branch, Alberta region, to fund the treatment of these children. The funding falls under Jordan's principle, which is designed to not allow children's needs fall through bureaucratic tape.
Children have very complex needs, and they wanted to ensure that they were provided by pediatric specialists, and they were provided in a safe space, in a therapeutic space, and that they could know that they could count on us to be there every day.
Now, 6 months later, Williams has been informed her contract is being canceled. The Stoney Nation's Health Center requested and has now been given funds to treat those 12 special needs children. Christopher Pigram is Gavin's father. He doesn't understand why he will have to take his child elsewhere for care.
He looks forward to coming here, as opposed to all of a sudden, there's going to be all these new faces, new people. Why fix what's not broken?
Parents have been told they will have to book each practitioner individually to use their services. Sonia House is Jarrell and Trayson's mother. She says Williams Consulting is doing a great job, and the kids are happy there and have improved.
My boys really improve big time. And now that it's going to come to an end, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do now? Like, where my boys are going to get the services?
Brandon Holloway is concerned that the Stoney Health Services does not have adequate space for playing and does not believe his child will receive the same level of care that he is receiving now. He believes this is the foundation of what Jordan's principle is about.
They've got building, they got these trained professionals coming in. They've said this over and over, but there's nothing. No place for them to go to learn these things, or these professionals they say they claim to have, you don't see them.
Elizabeth Carnes is a psychologist with Williams Consulting. She says the children have all made progress here and is worried that a change of location and routine will be harmful. She says the system is letting down the kids again.
I have actually worked out in Morley for the past 8 years, and so I've known some of these kids for a really long time. And I've seen them repeatedly be let down by the systems, meaning service providers and the provincial funding models that just weren't providing adequate enough care.
Williams says she has not been given a transition plan. No one from Stoney Health Services has talked with her.
I have never met their providers. I don't believe they have the space. And I don't believe they have the right to choose for these families. These families have made it clear that they wanted the services provided in a particular way, and I believe the families have the choice to make that decision.
APTN went to Stoney Health Services to hear their side of this story. We were told that CEO Aaron Kahn is out of the country and no one else is allowed to comment.
These children are the highest needs children in that First Nation, and I don't think Health Services had any idea how high needs they were.
APTN asked Health Canada to comment on this story. They haven't replied to us as of airtime, but did say they would be making an announcement about the program. Owner Andrea Williams' contract expires at the end of March. She told APTN that the Stoney Nation has informed her that they are working towards giving her a 3-month extension. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Cochrane, Alberta.
It's sad but true. The Arctic Winter Games have come to a close, but we've got highlights from the closing ceremony coming up after the break. Here's a look at the rest of Tuesday's weather forecast, picking back up in northern Alberta, -9 in Fort Chipewyan and Fort McMurray, +9 in Calgary and Medicine Hat, +8 in Lethbridge. A cloudy day on the west coast, +11 in Vancouver, +9 in Campbell River, Port Hardy and Bella Coola, 7 above in Sandspit and Prince Rupert, +6 in Smithers. Sunny across much of Yukon with the exception of Whitehorse with a high of -5. In NWT, -17 in Fort Resolution and Yellowknife, -6 in Fort Liard. Much cooler to the north, -33 in Sax Harbor, 30 below in Pawlatuck. Not much warmer in parts of Nunavut, -28 in Baker Lake, -34 in Cambridge Bay, -34 on Tuesday in Tallyoak and Joe Haven. Welcome back. Each team in the Arctic Winter Games has a unique outfit. Behind each piece of clothing, there is a tie to that contingent's identity. Our reporter Tamara Pimentel sat down with one of the fashion designers.
One of the first impressions you might get from seeing the athletes at these Arctic Winter Games might be because of fashion. From the brightly colored hats to the thick fur trim hoods on parkas, Team Greenland is hard to miss. Their uniforms are made by Bibi Chemnitz, a Greenlandic Inuit designer who offers a modern take on the traditional.
It's a big honor to get the opportunity to make clothes for so many young athletes.
Yeah, and it's really fun to see everybody walking around and see the happy smiles.
APTN sat down with Chemnitz and her Denmark business partner and English translator David Rogilds. The team has been working together for over a decade.
We really want to represent the country as it is, so we used a red color for our down jacket. We wanted like a really warm jacket with a lot of down, but the lining is also the pins that the Greenlandic team has made, so it's the shape of Greenland, but made in, here's the polar bear, the walrus, narwhal, wolf.
Chemnitz grew up in a small northern community with many similarities to Canada's north. She says the design ties into the history of her country.
Some communities still in Greenland, the dog plays a vital role. Also the polar bear. Also it shows power, it shows where you're from. It shows a little bit of our identity.
In Greenland, fabric and beads are taken off old clothing and passed down from generations. Bibi began sewing at an early age.
You pass on the tradition, but also in maybe many of the small communities, it's not possible to buy whatever you want. So you sew it, or you repair it, or you adjust.
For Bibi, interpretations of fashion is a choice. Her hands are marked by tattoos that are a mixture of what she's seen on Greenlandic archives and modern Inuit tattoos.
If you are like a scholar Inuit tattoo artist, or you might not say it's not like really 100% correct how it should be, but it's correct for Bibi.
Closing ceremonies will take place tomorrow, and it's certain Greenland's outfits will stand out amongst the crowd. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Hay River.
And the 2018 Arctic Winter Games did wrap up this weekend in the Northwest Territories. 2 communities from the South Slave region of the territory hosted the Games this year and welcomed athletes from across the circumpolar north. Here's Tamara Pimentel again with a look at how these games came together.
It was a dream of nearly 15 years in the making. And the 2 small towns of Hay River and Fort Smith made that dream a reality last week when they hosted the 2018 Arctic Winter Games. Almost 2,000 athletes participated in the games, nearly doubling the community's population.
There was lots of concerns. Would we have the volunteers? Would we have the venues? We've done it creatively. We've got curling rink being used as a volleyball court. We got a shop being used as gymnastics, as well as wrestling.
Greg Rowe has been involved in the games as an athlete, coach, and now as president of the host society. His committee of Fort Smith and Hay River submitted a bid to host the games in 2008. Those games went to Yellowknife. When the capital decided not to bid for 2018, the door opened.
I've used the line that the games would be the pulse of the community, and it really has been. I mean, the buzz has been absolutely amazing. To see the streets filled with people in colored jackets and team jackets. The venues have been full. The volunteers have been outstanding.
Volunteers like Matthew Lacusta and Madison Beck became the backbone of the games, working up to 60 hours.
I haven't actually had any time to watch any of the games. I've had maybe like 5 or 10 minutes where I've actually watched something.
But missing out on the games didn't mean missing out on the fun.
No matter how stressed out or anything that we all seem, we're all enjoying ourselves, and it's amazing to see all the smiling faces.
Not only have the games brought these towns financial benefits, it also gives a sense of pride and accomplishment.
A successful week of the Arctic Winter Games has come to an end here in the Northwest Territories, and now athletes have the next games to look forward to, happening in Whitehorse in 2020. Samara Pimentel, APTN National News, Hay River.
And congrats to all the organizers. We're going to miss the coverage there. The best in the Canadian music industry were honored over the weekend at the annual Juno Awards in Vancouver. APTN's Tina House was there and has this story.
It was the who's who in the Canadian music business on the Juno red carpet. Fans lined up to take selfies with stars such as Maestro Fresh Wes. And one of those stars that lit up the red carpet was Kelly Fraser from Iqaluit, Nunavut. She was nominated for the Indigenous Music Album of the Year. And once again, APTN sponsored the prestigious Indigenous Music Album of the Year award. Presenting the award tonight was APTN's COO Sky Bridges, along with rapper Joey Styles.
This is the night for Indigenous music, the Junos. There's amazing artists that are on the bill up to possibly receive. I mean, it's so exciting to be here.
The red carpet, everyone's looking like money. Everyone's excited. They get to, be honored for their hard work.
Buffy St. Marie won the Juno for Indigenous Music Album of the Year and dedicated the award to longtime friend, music manager Elaine Bomberry.
I think that maybe this Juno needs to live with Elaine Bomberry here in Vancouver. So Elaine, this is for you.
And she meant it. Buffy gave her Juno to Elaine, who created the category at the Juno Awards 25 years ago. Elaine had no idea that Buffy had announced it until her friend called her from the show.
And she's messaged me, Buffy won. I said, oh, cool, cool. And then she goes, she dedicated it to you. I went, what? Surreal. I was pinching myself. It's no.
And Elaine has just the spot she'd like to put that Juno, close to where her partner Marie Porter's Juno is when he won Indigenous Music Album of the Year award a few years ago. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Great story. That's all the time we have for today. Up next, an encore presentation of APTN Investigates Legal Weed. I'm Dennis Ward. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.